What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for Sports. Earlier I was talking about the comparison between Kevin Durant and Larry Bird, and that's just my opinion. I think that Bird is a better all-around player than KD. But then I looked further down that list, that ESPN Top 76 list, and I saw they had Kevin Durant at number 12 and Olajuwon number 13. And there's a lot of things I could talk about. For instance, most people from my generation will put Olajuwon ahead of Shaq. That's another debate for another time. But why in the world is Olajuwon behind KD? I'm at a loss for this. I'm trying to figure out how in the world do they come up with Kevin Durant being ahead of Akeem Olajuwon? Hmm. Is it because he can shoot threes? I guess that's what it is. What is it? The ball handling, the skills. He can shoot threes. I guess that's what it is, right? Because it's certainly not dominance. Let's see. Kevin Durant, 4 scoring titles. Okay, Olajuwon never led league in scoring, but then again, it's much more difficult. Especially back then, it was much more difficult for a center to lead the league in scoring because he didn't have the ball in his hands going up and down the court. Now it's a little bit different. Let's see, Olajuwon led the league in rebounding multiple times. Durant, of course, never. Olajuwon has led the league in blocks multiple times. Durant never. Olajuwon's probably, in the grand scheme of things, a top 10 all-time defensive player. Kevin Durant couldn't even sniff that. Olajuwon has won a Defensive Player of the Year award and has a quadruple double. One of the few players to officially have one. Durant has never achieved that. Um, both of them are two-time champions. Both of them are two-time Finals MVPs. Durant is a great all-time shooter slash scorer. Olajuwon is the greatest post player in the history of the sport. One of the great clutch performers in the history of the sport. Something that eludes KD at times. There are times when he can be that guy, but I hate to keep going here with this, but let's look at the all-time help they've had. Once again, Kevin Durant has played with James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Serge Ibaka, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Kyrie Irving, Ben Simmons versus Olajuwon, Ralph Sampson, and an old Charles Barkley and Clyde Drexler. And they both had the same number of rings. And Olajuwon went to a finals early too, but they faced the greatest Boston Celtic team of all time and won 6 games. And if he had got any help from Ralph Sampson and Robert Reed, maybe they might have stolen it from them. OKC, with 3 future MVPs on their roster, couldn't beat that Heat team. Now, granted, they were a great team, but you only could muster one victory. The Houston Rockets never had been shit before. You know what I'm saying? They were not a great team, and Olajuwon didn't have the greatest roster around him. But when you look at what he was able to do almost single handedly at times, dominating series, carrying that team on his back. The 1995 Houston Rockets run, and in particular, Elijah Wan's run during that playoffs is one of the greatest single playoff runs in the history of the sport. Elijah Wan and the Rockets were road warriors. They never had the home court advantage in any series that year, and they swept their way in the playoffs and won a championship. Elijah Wan went through so many great centers in his career, whether you're talking about Patrick Ewing and David Robinson, Shaquille O'Neal, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Robert Parrish, Moses Malone, you know, uh, Brad Daugherty, Jack Sikma. The list goes on and on. Rick Smits, as far as great centers that he had to contend with, Kevin Durant's main opposition has been LeBron James, maybe Paul George um, at times. I'm just trying to figure out how is he ahead of him when it comes to career accomplishments. Olajuwon was the more dominant player. He did much more with less. He was an all-time great clutch performer. If you look at his regular season numbers versus his playoff numbers, he stepped it up big. You know what I'm saying? In the regular season, he averaged a little under 22 points a game. In the playoffs, he averaged 26 points a game. In the finals, Olajuwon, I think, averaged something like 28 points per game. I mean, he stepped it up every round, and he completely demolished in that Western Conference Finals in 1995 the reigning Defensive Player of the Year. Excuse me, the reigning MVP and David Robinson that particular year. I'm trying to remember who the hell was the Defensive Player of the Year in '95. Was it who was it? Who won? Was it David Robinson? Who was the Defensive Player of the Year in '95? Was it Matumbo or was it David Robinson? I forget off the top of my head. But I do know that Robinson was the MVP. Matter of fact, that front line consisted of David Robinson and Dennis Rodman, and they could not stop Akeem Olajuwon. I'm just trying to figure out, like I said before, how in the hell KD is ranked ahead of Olajuwon. Olajuwon he had that killer instinct. Um, he was not playing with another superstar and had just as much success as KD. Uh, I'm at a loss here. I'm at a complete loss. But anyway, that's all I have to say.